What is up, everyone? It is Tony from Game and Movie Podcast, and wow, it has been a while, hasn't it? But we have been working on a lot of things here just to try and improve the show for the listening quality, just the overall quality of the show. Right now, I bet you can tell this is a brand new microphone. This is not a USB-powered microphone, but a real microphone. The difference is so real. We have gone from a single USB microphone that we would put in the middle of the table and everyone would kind of just like talk at it to actual like microphones, stands, pop filters, quality cables, and a mixer. And the equipment that we have upgraded to is actually pretty stellar. I mean, it's not top of the line by any means, but it's way better than what we were dealing with before, which was kind of three of us around a circular table screaming into a USB snowball mic, and that just wasn't cutting it anymore because everyone has a different quality of voice. Some of us are lower register, some of us are higher register. It's really super hard to mix something like that when you have three people that are so dynamic in all sorts of the meaning of the word. So here we are a couple months later, and I have scraped together enough money personally to try and upgrade the show. And big shout out to my friend Taylor Campbell. He kind of spurned this along, actually. He gave me a couple of microphones, an SM57 and an Audio-Technica microphone. I'm not sure what the model number on that one is, but also a mixer here. But it got me to kind of look at the fact that maybe we do need a mixer, and maybe we do need more quality microphones, and maybe we should take ourselves a little bit more seriously, and only in the production value element we'll still be fucking jerk-off, goof-offs, whatever. So Taylor, he donated a mixer to us. The mixer turned out to be not so good. So right now, we have three mics set up. I bought 3 stands, 3 pop filters, excellent cables, XLR to XLR, and he also donated an Alesis IO2 Express, which is what I'm talking to you right now on. It's a small little mixer that plugs into the USB port into our laptop, which was also donated by Leah Patra. So, I mean, this I can't give enough thanks to the people who have been trying to help us along in this vision of trying to get this podcast together here. Thanks to you all. I really, really do appreciate it. It means a lot. So we have everything that we need except for the mixer is on order right now, and I am just sitting back here, and this is kind of a test run right now for audio quality, and I'm going to just talk at you myself, and I don't know how. I've never really done a solo podcast by myself, so I'm going to try and keep it entertaining and tight and short. What I'm going to talk to you is about the console that I grew up on, the NES. I think that there are a ton of good games for the NES, and some kind of get swept under the rug or don't get the attention that they deserve. I'm just going to talk about a few of my favorites. Like I said, nothing too pressing, nothing too important here. I'm just a fun little episode, just me and you. Let's do this. So I went through an app on my phone that I use to collect video games, and I just went alphabetically through a bunch of games here. I picked out some games that I thought maybe didn't get enough attention, and I don't know, maybe you'll agree, maybe you won't. If you have not played one of these games on the NES and you play the NES, maybe you should check them out. I don't know, they're some of my favorites. First up, we have Bubble Bobble. I guess this is kind of a pretty well-known game made by Taito. You play the role of 2 different dinosaurs, Bub and Bob. Apparently they were humans that got turned into dinosaurs, but the whole style of play is to shoot bubbles out of your mouth and encapsulate your enemies, and then you have to pop the bubbles, which then in turn kills the enemies. When these enemies get killed, they leave behind some prizes, and they're random. You know, it's a lot of times it's fruit, vegetables. Sometimes it's fast food. Sometimes it's weird objects like rosaries or shoes. Something to speed up your bubble production, or something that makes you go faster, or something that makes you skip a couple levels. This is a great game. Great two-player game. And if you have a buddy and you want to do some two-player action, it's the best way to experience this game. Very simple in a lot of ways. The music is mesmerizing. Who doesn't know that music? Dun 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 dun. Right? I know, you know it. The real reason to attack it with two people is because you unlock the true ending with two people. If you beat it just by yourself, well, you don't know the power of friendship. The next game I want to talk about is Kabuki Quantum Fighter. This was developed by Human Entertainment and published by HAL Laboratory. This game is actually a pretty good platformer game. It revolves around you being a kabuki and using your hair to attack enemies. And primarily the hair. I mean, I think you do have a couple of secondary weapons, but I mean, this is just you headbanging out. I'm imagining that the hero is just listening to some straight thrash tunes, headbanging, and just destroying enemies in the game. But yeah, this game is a lot of fun. I think it doesn't get the credit it deserves. It's kind of short. I think it has like 5 or 6 levels. But as far as a platformer goes, I think it's criminally underrated. Another game I want to talk about is Kickle Cubicle from IREM. It is a puzzle game, but sort of kind of like a platformer as well. You control Kickle Cubicle, who has this ice breath that can freeze enemies, and then you can use the cubes that you turn the enemies into as like stepping stones for the water that surrounds each level. Or you can knock them into other enemies. There's a lot of different choices that you can have there. But basically the goal of the game is just to get rid of all the enemies and collect all of the power-ups in the way. Great game. Love it. Little Nemo the Dream Master is a game by Capcom. It came out a little later in the NES's library, and this game is fantastic. I guess Little Nemo the Dream Master was a story from long, long ago. I'm talking like turn of the century, 1900s. Not the 2000s. 1900s, like 1906 or something. And Little Nemo in his dreams can become anything, superpowers. It's adorable. You get to play this little kid. He has his pajamas on, and he has this scepter in his hand. You can become different animals and take on their traits. So, for instance, you can become a mole and dig through the ground very easily. And it's a wonderful platformer. I think it's overlooked, and it's not mentioned enough. Let's talk about Maniac Mansion, a gem of a game brought to the NES by Jaleco Games. It was developed by Lucasfilm Games, which was later, of course, LucasArts. And also, this game was created on the SCUM engine, and SCUM is an acronym for Script Creation Utility for Maniac Mansion. Hey, it makes sense, right? But yeah, this game is a point and click. You have the words at the bottom of the screen, and you can point out these words like use key on door. And these are 3 or 4 different clicks, but it gets the point across, or have one of your characters talk to somebody. And that's another thing about Maniac Mansion. You get the choice of 3 characters to play as, and you can go in between them whenever you want. It's a puzzle game. It is an inventory-based game. It's beautiful. As far as something else on the NES that's like it, Shadowgate, Deja Vu, and The Uninvited are the only ones that I can think of that are anything like this. Metal Gear. Well, sure, we hear a lot about Metal Gear today, of course, with Kojima leaving Konami and everything, and even before that, man, we've heard a lot about Metal Gear Solid. But Metal Gear on the NES? Hell, this isn't even where it was born. It was born on the MSX computers. This is a port of that, and I believe it's one of the first espionage. It's actually the first stealth game. It's huge in that aspect. You need to sneak around, and as far as the NES goes, this was the first stealth game. It broke boundaries. You need to not draw attention to yourself. We all know what a stealth game is. This game did it first. This game was revolutionary, and that's why it's on my list. Another IREM game, Metal Storm. This came out late in the NES's library. Shooter platformer, I'm going to say. You can reverse gravity, and that is one of the best things about this game. You can take your home ec, you can jump, you can reverse gravity just like that, and it's a beautiful thing. They figure it into the platforming. The levels kind of, if this makes sense, you can go vertically forever and ever. So if your mech drops off the side of a pit, and then it appears right at the top of the screen, and then goes back down, it's a never-ending loop. It kind of plays tricks with your perception. Also, the scrolling in this game has to be mentioned. The parallax scrolling is insane. This should not be allowed on the NES. That 8-bit architecture, but they found a way. It's the backgrounds are great, the explosions are great, the graphics are amazing. RC Pro-Am. Rare, wow. Rare actually got its start on the ZX Spectrum back in England. That was a computer that was very popular over in England. And they made their way over to the NES. They actually retro-engineered some games and made their way into Nintendo's great graces by doing some retro-engineering and producing a game called Slalom, blowing away Nintendo by actually getting to know some of their software and doing it better than Nintendo could do themselves. So, of course, that raised a few eyebrows at Nintendo, and they were given quite a bit of freedom on the NES. RC Pro-Am, man, is this game cool. It's a racing game. It's like has a top-down perspective. Well, actually, it's kind of isometric. There are multiple power-ups. It has an RPG element to it. You can upgrade your racer, tires, top speed, your acceleration. It's a great and fun game. Yeah. Rambo on the NES. A lot of people are going to be like, what? That game sucked. Well, not to me. I really dug Rambo for some reason. Maybe it was because I rented a couple of games a week and I was stuck with them if I rented them. But I dug right into Rambo. I thought it was kind of like a Zelda 2 clone in a way. It was developed by Pack-In Video and released by Acclaim. I don't know. I thought it was great. You have lots of firepower on your side, but think Zelda. Shadowgate, man, oh, this game. Like Maniac Mansion before, Shadowgate is a point-and-click adventure that was developed by ICOM Simulations, published by Kemco Saika. This was originally for the Apple Macintosh in the Mac Venture series, but got brought over by Kemco because they thought it would work out for the NES, and they did some programming for it to make it work for the NES. Point-and-click adventure, gobs of atmosphere. Oh my gosh, this was one of the games I was scared of, and the music had everything to do with it. The mystery and the music, beautiful thing. But this is one of the games that you have to have patience for, old school patience. For example, if you went the wrong way, like went down a ladder, you could just die from that. Thankfully, there were checkpoints in the game, so you didn't have to suffer too much, but just to know that you couldn't go down that path anymore. And some obscure answers to some of the puzzles in the game, but still, it holds a place of nostalgia in my heart, and I think is a quality game. Still, to this day. I think most of it's nostalgia, but whatever. Solar Jetman, Hunt for the Golden Warp Ship, is a game that I think gets zero respect on a platform where this was really, really good for the time. The developers were Rare. More specifically, Rare handed this off to Zippo Games and published by TradeWest. It's a multi-directional shooter where you need to... Basically, you're this little spaceship, and you can upgrade the spaceship as you go along, exploring different planets in search for 13 pieces of the Golden Warp Ship, which will get you back home. But you can upgrade this from planet to planet, take on like a tractor beam, stronger engines, stronger shields, and so on and so forth. Mapping devices. This is great. What I think is hugely important with this is momentum and gravity physics in games. You did not see anything like this on the NES beforehand, and I thought it was a huge feat for Zippo Games to pull this out. I cannot recommend this game enough. This is a game that even to this day, it is a challenge, and if you can actually bring yourself to go, I mean, it is a little bit of a slog going through it. If you're able to appreciate what these guys did with the NES hardware, it becomes a thing of beauty to you. Strider on the NES was another game by Capcom. The Strider on the NES and the Strider on the Genesis, different games in story and everything. I know that there were, I believe, comics made about it, or manga, and anime. But this is one of the few games that was made in Japan, shipped to the US, and actually made it out to the retail shelves, but did not ship in Japan. So it was all ready to go, shipped to the US, totally sold, did not sell in Japan. Anyway, you play the part of Strider. You have your siphon sword. It's not as impressive as the Genesis one. It's not as good of a game as the Genesis game. But as far as an NES game goes, I think it's great. It's kind of a Metroidvania game, honestly, and I'm into it. Your character evolves to have different power-ups. It's a wild ride. I do enjoy it a lot. The music is great too. Man, it's that Capcom fare that I love. So, that is exactly what I think about all those games. Underrated. You should go and play them. They're extremely fun. I mean, if you have any taste like I do, and I have gobs of taste, my friends, you should try out these games. I'm sure if you're deeply rooted in the NES culture, you are going to know about these games anyway. But if you don't, try them out. It's something else other to play than your Contras, your Super Mario 3s, Legend of Zeldas, your Kid Icaruses, your Metroids, your Castlevanias, and so on and so forth. Hey man, we're going to come out with a new episode pretty dang soon here. I am sounding good on this microphone. Everything is feeling super high energy in the studio here. And I don't know, man. I'm just feeling good vibes. Don't fret. We're coming back, and we're going to be better than ever. Take care, everyone. Love you very much.